What is going on, everyone? I am back, and today I wanted to talk fantasy outlook of one of the most polarizing players heading into this fantasy season, and that is Ezekiel Elliott. So, we'll touch on his situation, the suspension itself, and what we can expect moving forward. On top of that, we'll also talk his average draft position, what you should consider when picking him or when passing on him as well. Now, it wasn't too long ago before the suspension, Zeke was a top three pick right after Bowen Johnson and was so in all formats, PPR and standard. But then obviously suspension comes out, 6 games, and that is pretty much the entire first half of the fantasy season. And as a result, his stock plummets somewhere to the end of the second round or maybe even third round. And I actually thought, man, this is an amazing opportunity for some savvy owners because similar to Le'Veon Bell, it'd be a situation where, okay, Zeke is suspended for a couple of games, maybe even less after he files an appeal, but then you have him for that secondary push into the playoffs, for that playoff run, and you pretty much have a top three guy back at that point, and you pretty much have two first rounders when you're in the playoffs, and that greatly increases your chances. Now, what makes matters even more complicated, however, is that the NFLPA got involved and they said, okay, we're putting in this petition that is going to ban the suspension until we have another party look at it and give their ruling on the matter. And this is really similar to Brady and Deflategate, but what it actually does is make the entire thing 100% more complicated and uncertain. But nonetheless, there are still a couple of options that are possible. Option one is that the appeal goes through, the suspensions get reduced to 3 or 4 games, and as a result, Zeke is happy and doesn't want to pursue the NFLPA's help anymore, serves those games suspended, and then comes back. Option two is that Zeke isn't happy with the outcome of the appeal, and as a result, the ban by the NFLPA is intact. He plays throughout the season and plays out the entire season because the courts cannot come to a conclusion quick on the matter. Now, that's by far the best case scenario. And then option three, which is probably the worst case scenario for me, is that I think Zeke isn't again happy with the appeal. It goes to court, and court says, okay, you still have to serve the suspension. And as a result, Zeke immediately starts serving that suspension, but he does so at the second half of the season, right around your push for the playoffs, or even worse yet, right around playoff time. Now, me personally, I think it'll be something like option two. I think that this is going to stretch out and Zeke is going to benefit and he'll play out the entire season. That's why I think anyone that got him in those later rounds got an absolute steal. And that is transitioning into his average draft position, why he is now going close to the end of the first round. Because think about it. If you have him back, I honestly wouldn't blame someone that takes him third overall now again. Because if he is available for the entire season, then why not? The only cloud hanging above him is this uncertainty of what will actually happen and when it'll happen. But personally, I feel very positive about the situation. Now, the question is, though, should you consider taking some other guys above him if you find yourself in that situation? Because a really popular place to target Zeke now is right at the end of the first round, the turn of the first and going into the second. I've actually found myself in that situation, and I've had a very hard decision to make, whether to take a guy like Ezekiel Elliott or roll the dice on a guy like Devonta Freeman, who's still a stud. Now, me personally, I would rather have someone like Melvin Gordon and Devonta Freeman over Zeke at that point in time, because that uncertainty to me right now is still something that I don't feel 100% comfortable with. And for that reason, I'll take the surefire bet and take the Devonta Freeman and then see what happens with Zeke in the future. Now, maybe you can have use that as trade bait and then later try and get Ezekiel Elliott if things don't play out 100% how we all expect them to, and then benefit off that. Or you can use him as trade bait and trade him away for some better pieces. But that's neither here nor there. The main thing is I have a couple guys ranked ahead of Zeke. And like I said, Melvin Gordon, Devonta Freeman, even maybe DeMarco Murray. Right on the cusp are Jordan Howard and Jay Ajayi. But the advice that I would give to people is that if you find yourself in the situation where you are in the second round, you've selected, hey, maybe you've selected David Johnson or Le'Veon Bell, and all the way to the end of the second round, Zeke is still available. Holy hell, take him right away, no questions asked. On top of that, even if you're in the mid-second round and Zeke is still available after you've taken a guy like, Mike Evans or Odell or Julio, but some of those other backs are gone, and you don't want to reach for, let's say, Leonard Fournette, I definitely take Ezekiel Elliott because to me, he is that good, and I think this thing turns out in his favor. So, all in all, I would say go ahead, feel more comfortable taking Ezekiel Elliott. Congrats to everyone that took him while he was suspended, while this news hadn't come out in the later rounds. Good on you. That'll go a long way in helping you make the playoffs and vying for the championship. And in the meantime, just remember, definitely whatever you do, pick up Darren McFadden because the situation is still not resolved, so you need his backup. Now it's more important than ever that you need Darren McFadden. Don't let someone else pick him up and then let them screw you over or use McFadden as trade bait later on for you. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with my analysis on this situation? Do you see this playing out a different way? And where would you personally take Ezekiel Elliott? Maybe first round even? Or at what point in the second round? So as always, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in future videos.